Yo, what's outside is within. The mind regulates the hand that masters the pen. The pen is mightier than the sword, but the tongue is mightier still. The stargate to the mind's revealed. The vortex. You ready?
Yeah.
Alright, peace. This is Real Talk with Kevin. I am your host, Cyclonius. Let's talk about bullying. Now, for the first time ever, Real Talk with Kevin will be going live, streaming across TikTok, Instagram, while filming for YouTube broadcasts. In this powerful new episode, Kevin and myself open the conversation on bullying. From the playgrounds to the workspace to the digital spaces we all live in, this conversation dives deep into childhood trauma, toxic adult environments, the rise of cyberbullying, and we ask the vital question, where do we go from here? So, with our first question, Kev, have you ever been bullied?
Interesting question then. You know, sometimes in reflection, when you're looking back at your life, especially when you're old, you always think about experiences you've gone through, maybe in the playground, in school, in the workplace. Of course, there's always instances where you get into conflict. You'd be lucky if you never get into conflict as a man. But I've never felt that I've been bullied, because it's got to be consistent.
Right.
I've had one-off incidents where I haven't been happy about situations. A few from primary school, maybe one in secondary school. But not real consistent bullying, you know. So I've been fortunate in that respect. But yeah, I've witnessed quite a lot of it, especially working in education.
Right. So what are the early signs that a child is being bullied at school or in their community?
You know, sometimes it's the introverted behaviour. They're not talking. The appearance, they may look scared. You can identify with their interactions around other children. If you're working in education, it's quite easily identifiable just by the way some kids tiptoe around other children, or when you see a bunch of children always frequently surrounding a child, or being sort of covertly undercover with them, whispering to them, and you see that child unhappy, or just acting out of character as well. Maybe wanting to go home a different way, walking around the building in school in a particular manner, staying in places where they can't be seen. But there's a lot of different sort of tactics that children will use if they're being bullied.
So why do some children become bullies? Is it always due to problems at home or school?
I think it starts firstly at home. You know, you can have families where they're quite dysfunctional. Maybe the dad was bullied when he was young, and the cycle sort of continues. If there's domestic violence in the home, the child may pick that up, be unhappy, and because of the unhappiness they're facing at home, project that out onto other people in school. But I think home is one of the main places where you learn that. Through unhappiness, unsettled environments, hectic environments, and a serious level of disruption at home can create that. A majority of the time for me, I mean, some children, they might come into school and be nice children, but then group dynamics change their behaviour. So then they can start being part of the bullying crowd as well. And sometimes those ones that are the least type of bullying entity may rise up and become the worst. And that can happen sometimes.
How has the nature of childhood bullying changed over the years?
I think it's mainly to do with social media. I mean, it's like just communication in general. If I had to communicate with a friend, I'd have to wait at home by the telephone line. You know, there's no mobile phone. So communication had to be done specifically in specific places. You had to go to someone's house to talk to them. You had to wait at home for a phone call from someone. But that's not the case now. So you can be anywhere, and a picture can be posted anywhere, and someone could take a video of you anywhere and put that out, and straight away that bullying momentum, it starts gathering momentum, the bullying, and then afterwards, you know, thousands of people are bullying you, a whole school full of children are laughing at you. That wasn't the case before. Unless you was there in person, no bullying was really going on.
What role do teachers and school systems play in either enabling or stopping bullying?
They play a major role in stopping it. I mean, most of them have anti-bullying policies that are set in stone in the school. So, you know, it's just one of those things that schools have loco parentis over the child, so you're like the parents of the child while they're in there, so there has to be a definite looking after children in school. So if they're subject to bullying, something has to be done about it. I mean, there's loads of children out there that are subject to bullying, and staff have to gather around and start sorting things out. So they play a major role. I mean, in regards to reinforcing it or, you know, contributing towards perpetuating it, I don't think any school actively thinks, all right, we got procedures in here at play where we want to reinforce bullying. It doesn't serve any real value in school for bullying to take place. So no, I wouldn't credit schools for reinforcing bullying in any way, shape or form. I think some schools in some respects are better at dealing with it than others, more than anything else.
How does peer dynamics like popularity, cliques, and exclusion factor into childhood bullying?
Yeah, it's serious, it's major. I think, you know, nowadays, back in the day when we were young, you could roll around just with your friend in isolation, and everyone knows that Neville hangs out with blah blah, Kevin hangs out with blah blah, but that's not the case. So, you know, there's a real large sort of group dynamic now where everyone sort of rolls around in big groups or connected in some way. So I think a lot of young people now, they find it hard, or they seek ways to fit in into these groups for popularity and to be recognised, to be seen, to reinforce their self-confidence and their self-worth, just being part of something, especially for young people that only children, children in care, children have got different circumstances going on around them where they need a feeling to belong to something.
Is tough love, or let them figure it out, a harmful approach when a child is being bullied?
I think being brought up in an old school way, there's a duality to this answer. So I got tough love. I know a lot of black people from the black community of a certain generation got tough love. And in reflection, it's boded well in regards to interactions with people and not being bullied, or sort of resolving situations yourself. But I think we're in different times now. Children are a lot more fragile, a lot more emotional, and there's more thoughts about the internal workings of a child now from parents compared to old school parents. So I think, you know, the hard fist, the iron fist, the draconian way of taking it on the chin. As a parent, you should know your child. You know, the softness, the soft characteristics of your child, the hard characteristics of your child, what they can take on the chin from birth. You know, the different traits and how your child interacts in the family, in the extended family, and people that, you know, whether in school or the wider community. You should know your child well, so you should be able to manage your child or instruct your child in a certain way in accordance with their characteristics. So you're not going to have a child that's really soft, go, oh yeah, if a bully starts on you in a playground, punch him in the face, stand up to him, because that child's hasn't got the sort of guile to put themselves forward in that way. So you know, you have to look at your child and support them in the best way you can for the personality that they've got. You know.
Can bullying be trauma forming what long-term psychological impacts can that have?
Lack of self-confidence, lack of self-worth, anxiety, depression, serious bullying can lead to suicide. So it has a really serious impact, in childhood and in later life into adulthood.
I wanted to ask you, how can parents empower their children without encouraging violence or retaliation?
Yeah, I think it's quite hard. Each child is individual, but there are a few things that they need to know in regards to support. Your school should be supporting you, and that goes in line with your parents also supporting you with the school, with any bullying. Outside of school, if it's a situation where it is school children, again, it should be school and the parents supporting the child. It gets a bit harder when it becomes just on the street. So a situation where a child's going home from school or going home from, it might be a young adult, going home from work and there's a group of whoever just hanging out at a certain spot and then creating a situation for you on a regular basis, that's when it becomes harder. And I think it's very dangerous ground when it happens like that, because family members want to get involved, and it's become something else now. I know that with bullying, and I talked about young people being emotional, adults are very emotional nowadays, especially being very protective of their children. So where in my day you dealt with everything on your own and your parents never knew and your family never knew, nowadays people will tell their mum, their dad, their auntie, their uncle, etc., and then everyone's willing to go out on the streets and deal with the situation, and it creates more problems than it's worth at the end of the day. So I mean, when it comes to dealing with bullying, for that child, it's speaking up and seeking support. Talk to the school, talk to your parents, talk to someone you trust in the school. It might be a mentor, it could be anyone, it could be the Senko, it could be anyone in the school that you trust. Talk to your parents, talk to your close friends, and hopefully, and when bullying's happening, practical steps, tell the bully, no, I don't like it. You have to go from there, you have to make them know that you don't like what's going on, why are you doing this, blah, blah, blah. But it may not stop there, but at least you've addressed it in a particular manner. People might ask you later, what have you done? And you said, I've talked to them, I've asked them why they're bullying me, blah, blah, blah. I've told them to stop, and it's continued. So at least you've taken a step. Now, if they're not listening to that, then the support behind you should be following up in order to extinguish what's going on.
What are some tools or methods parents and communities can use to create a safer environment for children? Carry on.
Yeah, well, I think just monitoring a lot, whether it's on social media, and monitoring what's going on in social media with your children, monitoring what's happening with them in school. I think sometimes parents get lost in their own lives, and the busyness of their own lives, and maybe their own social media preoccupations. So sometimes parents aren't watching as hard as they could be watching. Be mindful what's going on around your children in school. Always be checking up in the school. If you're a proactive parent, you don't always wait for the school to contact you if something good or bad has happened. You might do it once a month, once a week, call up the school, have a point of contact in the school, whoever it is, that you say, how's my child doing this week, how's my child doing this month? So just keep a close monitoring eye on your child a lot of the time. I think nowadays parents are so busy, especially in certain areas where you've got a lot going on. You're so busy trying to get the money in to pay the bills, etc., and juggling so many different balls at once. You sort of take your eye off the ball when it comes to your child.
Alright, cool. I wanted to move into a next segment. I don't know, what does it say there? Someone wants to co-host. Guys, anybody that's watching right now, I just want to leave the co-hosting so you can have your own opinions, or if you can just message with any questions that you pertaining to this topic, we can do all of that at the end. We haven't got much here, so it'll be shortly. But I wanted to move into adult bullying. So my first question to you is, what does adult bullying look like in adult life?
It depends where it's going on. I mean, I think one of the most nefarious or ominous types of bullying is the workplace bullying.
Right.
I think some people, especially when it comes to money, that's the main aim of working, generating money, attaining money, earning some money so you can pay your bills, pay your mortgage, pay your rent, buy the food, buy the electric, buy the gas, do the car insurance. Everything's sort of immersed in that, in your head. So when bullying takes place in the workplace, it's hard work for you to speak up because all you're thinking about is earning your money. Now, depending on the workplace, and I know different institutions are different. I know the culture in institutions are different, so I don't know what bullying, the bullying culture in the police force looks like and what the experience is, or in government roles, etc., or in the car industry. But I do know what it sort of looks like in education.
Right.
Now, when it's going down in education, it's sort of, I'll say it's sort of two-tiered. There's more dimensions to it. But you've either got a culture where you're looked after, or there's a culture where you're not looked after. And that's usually dictated by, because our culture's always top down. It's never bottom up. So it's always by the head teacher and the SLT, whether you're going to be looked after properly or not. Now, in the workplace, if there's a real proactive approach to dealing with bullying, and bullying isn't coming down from senior leadership level to the staff, you're fine to a certain extent. But if there is bullying from senior leadership level downwards, that's when you're stuck, because then you've got nowhere to go, especially if you identify what's going on in regards to senior leadership level, and how if you put forward an allegation in some capacity towards a member of staff that's favoured by the SLT, you're going to have problems moving forward with that. So it's always based on the culture and dynamics and dimensions of the workplace, the culture in that workplace in education. I don't know how it is in other institutions, but I can't see that it's that far off, especially at the top end. If you've got friendships with someone at the bottom end, and that bottom end person is being bullied, that person will get looked after better than the person that hasn't got relationships with those people at the top end. So it can be quite frustrating if you're in a situation and you have an understanding of the relationships in there, and you've got this idea in your mind that if I put this argument forward, nothing's going to happen. You know, and then if you take the leap and it goes that way, how do you feel after the fact? You're demoralised. So where do you go from there? It becomes a case, because remember, you're still thinking about money, that you end up just putting up with it. And then having to deal with the health-related issues that may come from that stress afterwards.
Can managers or people in positions of power be the biggest bullies? How can this be addressed?
The thing is, you know, when managers and people at the top end are big bullies, they're quite protected anyway. They're quite intelligent when it comes to policy and procedure. So when they're doing the bullying, and it's not usually overtly experienced for everyone to see. It's quite covert. It's usually behind the scenes. On the odd occasion, you might get people, and I always make reference to education because that's where I spent most of my time, where there are people that overtly do it, but because of the nature of that person or those persons, and how they are, people live in fear, and they feel that they can't say anything.
Right.
So you're really sort of stuck between a rock and a hard place when it comes to a top tier level of bullying, you know. And I can only imagine how many people are unhappy in their workplace at the moment. They have to make a choice. You either live unhappy in the workplace, you either speak up, and most of the time when you speak up, and I've always said it, that whistleblowers get no love in whatever capacity, especially when there's a lot of power at the top end, because no one wants to take accountability. Yeah, so you either have to make a choice. You either speak up and deal with the consequences of that. Hopefully the culture in there is good enough to support your claim. If it's not, and it goes left, then you have to make a decision about what you're going to do next, because you know it's going to be uncomfortable in the workplace. Or you know that this is not going to change, I've got to leave for my own mental health more than anything else.
I hear you. How does bullying in adult relationships, which is like romantic, platonic, or family, manifest itself?
I mean, there's different ways. I mean, I've talked about domestic violence. People's personalities are a particular way. You know, there's people that can't help themselves in regards to just being aggressive and non-empathetic and having a lack of understanding about in regards to how to treat people. So, you know, I always say family first. And if you look at family systemically, from, say, great-grandparents, grandparents, onwards, there's, within that family system, there's interactions where people are having to put up with other people's behaviours. It's family, isn't it? So, you know, Uncle Richie, he's ignorant, and anytime Uncle Richie's around, he's a certain way. So you either manage yourself around him, or part of his personality you might take on board for being around him quite a lot of the time. So, you know, families are very influential in the development of your personality in a way where you start becoming a bully. You know, so I think family first in regards to that type of bullying.
What emotional or psychological tactics are often used in adult bullying?
There's a range, you know, from gaslighting to just general ignoring. I mean, there's silent bullying. You know, you could be a person that takes away someone's power when they talk something of worth or talk about their feelings. You don't engage. You know, so you can bully like that. It doesn't always have to be the rah 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 domestic violence, verbal abuse type of bullying. You know, whether it's physical or relational or cyberbullying. I mean, people do weird things out there. People post pictures of their own friends or whatever, or their partner because they're angry, and put something out there. All right, they may resolve it, but the hurt's still there with them. So, you know, it's very complex.
How can an adult safely and effectively stand up to bullying without jeopardizing their jobs or their relationships?
Once you put yourself forward, there's a potential to jeopardize something. Yeah, if you know, no one wants to take accountability for what they're doing, and then it becomes a sort of cognitive dissonance defense zone. So I say to you, you're bullying me. I feel uncomfortable about that. It takes a really real person to say, all right, I'll put my hands up now. I have been bullying you. How are we going to work that out? Not a lot of people are going to say that. Right, what are you talking about? Blah, blah, blah. Same thing in the workplace. You start talking, oh, you're talking about me, oh, Mr. Singh, you sure that you've been bullied? All right, this and this has happened. All right, we're going to do this, we're going to do mediation. You know, sometimes they'll smooth it over and there'll be this sort of mediation approach. But, yeah. What was it?
Yeah, just about effectively standing up to bullying without jeopardising their jobs or relationships.
Yeah. So not jeopardising something is really in the hands of the person that you're talking to. it's down to them. You've got no control over that part. You can only verbalise what you're experiencing, and then it's up to them to make the decision of how they're going to manage this now.
Yeah.
But in a lot of cases where the culture in the workplace isn't fully supportive of individuals, and I think some individuals feel the pressure more than others culturally. If I come and talk as a black man about the white head teacher bullying me, and I feel this has been going on for a long time, where do I go with that when I feel it's the head teacher? Do I go to the head teacher? Do I go to the governors? But in me going to the governors, especially if the head teacher's doing what they consider to be a good job practically with the school, what power have I got now? They'll try and sort of slide that under the carpet in a way that sort of makes it look to me like they've tried to do something. So, very shaky ground addressing bullying in the adult world like that, but you're going to have to do it. And if you don't do it, leave that job and move on to something better.
I hear you. Alright, so let's move now into like online and social media. What are the different forms of cyberbullying happening today, from trolling to doxing?
So, trolling's been around a long time. I don't know if would you put catfishing in there as well?
Oh yeah, all of it's there, man.
And doxing, that's that the personal details being put out there to be used in a horrible way. There's that one where the kids, I can't even remember the name of it now. And I heard about it a long time ago, and I had to deal with cases where kids were subject to this, where they'd create these groups. It's called a specific name. They'd create a group, and everyone would feed into the bullying towards that one person. I can't remember what they call it now, but there's a multitude of different ways online to bully people. It's unreal. From just playing, you might enjoy playing FIFA.
Right.
The kids now, they talk while they're playing FIFA.
Yeah.
You might have that set up every Friday with your boys, but you know how it is in groups. There's someone that's going to get the rough end of the stick in a group. There's always someone that's talked to in a particular manner that's upsetting for them. So even online gaming, you'll get situations where people are getting bullied. So, it's far-reaching, the bullying, so far-reaching. It's so far-reaching compared to when I was young. So it's quite upsetting, because there'll be young people in corners of cyberspace that aren't seen, that are getting bullied on a regular basis, but also putting up with it because they just need to be part of something.
Why do you think people feel empowered to bullying others online in ways that they never would in person?
It's like when COVID started. So that was the greatest thing for some people that like to go and rob and steal and do things undercover. Because now you can legally walk around with something over your face that keeps you hidden. That's what social media does for you.
Right.
It keeps you hidden. It doesn't matter. You can put any profile pic, or whatever they call it, any imagery up to depict you. It's not you. You can have a picture of Batman. You might not look anything like Batman, but there's a picture of Batman up there. So all that anyone's seeing is this image of Batman, and someone's spewing out all this nonsense about you. So it's really the covert element, and you can become or be a person that you might have always wanted to be.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people out there that might want to speak up, or have taken too much for too long and now want to give it back, but are too afraid to in person. So now I can do that online to anyone I want, with no risks of getting injured or hurt in any sort of physical way.
How does online bullying affect the mental health, especially for young people and creatives?
I think any kind of bullying is going to have the same sort of impact on people. But, you know, like I said before, whether it's depression, anxiety, lack of self-worth, and just generally, you know, it's like that FOMO. Was it fear of online, what is it called again? Anyway, when you're not being seen online.
Okay.
Or not being recognised, you're not getting any likes or whatever. There's always something that's going to affect you internally online. The bullying is probably the most ominous part of that online. So, sorry, remind me of the question again there.
I was just saying, how does online bullying affect your mental health, especially for young people and creatives?
Yeah, so it's anxiety, depression, and again, it could lead to suicidal ideation. I think across the board, if we live in a society that's operating in a wholly humanistic way, we won't have these problems where people want to reinforce their own self-esteem by being horrible to people online. You know, it would be such a lovely thing if people had empathy and insight to understand how to treat other humans in the way that they'd like to be treated.
I wanted to know, do you think social media platforms, do you reckon they should be held legally accountable for the bullying that happens on their platforms?
I mean, that's sort of similar to saying, should you have, there used to be Sheffield, was this old stainless steel company that used to make all the knives. Should they be accountable? They probably don't make the knives now. Should they be accountable for the people that go out and stab? Should gun companies be responsible for people that go out with guns? I don't think online platforms can be responsible. They provide the platform for you to do whatever. I don't think there was an expectation when they created this platform that, all right, we'll create these platforms so people can just bully other people.
Yeah.
I don't think that was the intention. So I don't think you can really bully online platforms, because again, it's like that saying that money's the root of all evil, but it's not the money. Yeah, it's your perception about the money. You know, so it's wholly in the hearts and minds of the individual, not the people that have designed these platforms for people to use.
That's right. All right. So we're in a segment now of moving forward. What can we do as a community to shift away from the bullying culture?
You know, there has to be some sort of unity and communitarian sort of movement forward in regards to, you know, it's so upsetting nowadays that, and I've talked about it before, through materialism and consumerism, there's this more individualistic way of living. People are in their little bubbles. People seem less connected than they were before, where I might see your daughter on the street and she might, you know, she might be upset and I bring her home. She might be rude. I might tell her off and I tell you and it's accepted. You know, I might see you somewhere and you haven't got any money and I buy you some shopping. People aren't doing that anymore. You know, if there was a more communitarian approach to dealing with bullying, I think there'd be a lot less bullying, you know, going on. But there are some communities that are like that, and that especially in the Turkish community. I've worked a lot with Turkish people. They do have really deep-rooted connections in regards to their children and the extended family. I don't know if that's so prevalent amongst black families and the rest of the cultures out there, but I think a real communitarian approach, just general monitoring of your child, and if you were working as a community, you could monitor other people's children as well and know what's going on with them. But we're moving, there's sort of a divergence from that. We're not moving towards stamping out bullying. I think the way society is now, because it's become quite perverse, young people and adults are attracted to bad news.
Right.
They're attracted to really horrible things online. Majority of the time, whether it's someone having sex on the high road or a train station, someone falling off a building, amusement park, ride dismantling and people falling off, someone doing a bungee jump and dying. People love that stuff nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, so it's not like people are feeding wellness, be good, empathetic algorithm out there. You know, I can only imagine what's coming up on most people's feed. Ain't a lot of good stuff, you know what I mean? Unless you're some humanitarian, really kind to animals sort of person, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because even when it comes down to animal stuff, people like to see other animals ripping up animals, a person getting attacked by an animal, like across the board, people like bad news.
How important is emotional education and conflict resolution in preventing bullying?
Yeah, it's major. I mean, it's like crime. You're never going to prevent it. But learning the skills how to deal with it is essential. I think sometimes, especially in society how we exist in now, and the types of bullying that are going on now across the board, from in your face to online, they should be preparing young people for a potential experience of being bullied. At least, you know, my kung fu teacher used to say, in peacetime, prepare for war. Same thing. Even though no bullying's going ahead, prepare them just in case something's going to happen.
Make them know what it looks like.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Can media and pop culture, things like films, music, or maybe influencers, how can they play a role in changing the narrative around bullying?
Talk up against it. You know, whatever you're doing, don't reinforce a certain type of attitude as well. You know, it's funny that certain types of music reinforce that, imposing yourself on people, shooting people, stabbing people, just being nasty to people, you know. So they play a big role, media, when it comes to film and TV. You know, whether you're watching Blue Story or Top Boy or something else of that nature, what is that instilling inside of people? And young people especially, that are vulnerable to seeing imagery and listening to things and being wholly influenced. You know, like, they play a major role. The music industry, the film industry especially. Like, stop pumping out nonsense that brainwashes our children into contributing towards violent tendencies. You know, it's not them alone that's making children like that. Of course, there's things in the home, there's interaction with friends, but parts of that are major contributors to influencing young people to behave in a certain way.
Last question. What practical steps can people watching this episode take away today, whether they're victims, bystanders, or former bullies themselves?
I'm hoping that the former bullies have turned it around. It's upsetting that former bullies a lot of the time were bullied themselves. It's good that sometimes people that have been bullied actually go the other way and are sort of really proactive in regards to stopping bullying. But the major ones speak up. Once you start being bullied, you start losing your voice. You have to speak up, find someone that's reliable and you're confident in talking to. Parents need to understand that there's systems in place, especially in education, whether it's go down the school and talk about the anti-bullying policy. You want to know about it if my child's getting bullied. So really, mainly it's about speaking up. That's first and foremost, you know, and then it's upsetting for children because they've got no real power. After you disclose your information, everything's left in the hands of the adults, and you have to trust that they're going to do the work. I mean, there are some cases where you do stand up for yourself, and it does work. You know, I'm not an advocate for that not happening, but you as an individual will have the confidence in yourself to do that. You know, but no one can really instill that in you immediately. It can be instilled in you over time in a particular way. But you know, a lot of people, young people, don't really know themselves that well, but they know to a certain extent what they can put up with and what they can't put up with. You know, and there's a response at that point when they can't put up with something. And is it going to be me be physically aggressive and stop it? Is it going to be me verbally stopping it? Or is it going to be me verbally passing it on to my mum or the school? But yeah, they need to speak up.
Most definitely. Respect for that, brother.
Nice.
What I wanted to do now is just open it up. I'm going to have a look. There's a lot of activity going on. I'm just going to scroll through to see if there was any questions, or if anybody would like to join in and maybe pose a question to you by asking to be a host or something. That's also an option. So let me just have a look here. Let's see what we got cracking. Let me just scroll through this thing now. There's a lot going on here. Hold on. Let's have a look. Let's see if there's any questions anybody sent in. By all means, if you want to join the live to see someone's to co-host. All right, let's have a look. We've got like 20 minutes left, so we're gonna have to be brief, guys. Yeah. Oh, they've gone. Come back again if you want to join the live. I'll accept you. Sorry about that. Let me look through this, see if there's any questions. Keep scrolling. Now this is a lot of... Come on, guys, there must be questions. A lot of people are liking it, which I appreciate. But if you've got any questions, please type it in, or ask to be a host so we can get you in so you can ask live. Oh, there's a question here. What advice would you give to a young person being bullied online? And that's from Intuitive Blessed. Respect. So that's the question. What advice would you give to a young person being bullied online?
Yeah, so I think really the source, I mean, if they don't know who's bullying them, that's a problem in itself. But like I said earlier, you've got to speak to your parents. They've got to shut down whatever platform they're getting bullied through. I think that needs to get shut down, unless it's just their Snapchat or their Insta. If it is, you know, they don't have to live with Snapchat or Insta. Yeah. You know, just end it. But really it's about talking to your parents about it, maybe monitoring, getting someone to monitor, be with you when they're bullying you, and see what's going on. And then after that, sort of pass it on. There are organisations that deal with online bullying as well.
Okay. What's the next question here? It goes, or even to the parents who may feel like it's happening but not sure how to deal with it.
Yeah, you know, we live in such a information-driven age that it's easy to. I think it was Keops. There's an old organisation that used to deal with online bullying and cyber safety.
Right.
But there are organisations out there that you can Google and find out about cyber safety that will support you in that as well.
Okay. There's a lot of people wanting to be invited. Yeah. Intuitively Blessed says thank you. Enough love. Any more questions from the people them outside? Let us know what's good. Come on. Let me scroll through. There's a lot of activity going on here. Again, the topic is about bullying. We're just trying to open the platform to everybody. You know, what's their thoughts and feelings on bullying? Have you experienced it? What's your thought process on it?
And I think to a certain extent, when it comes to adult bullying, it's less talked about.
Exactly.
You know, I think that's what's quite upsetting.
Yeah.
There's a lot of adults that suffer in silence.
Yeah.
I know there's a lot of children as well, but it's less talked about in the realm of adults.
Well, and why do you think that is? Why do you think a lot of adults don't speak up?
One, if it's in the workplace, it's money. Two, they feel that maybe they might feel that nothing can be done about it.
I was about to say, yeah, like imagine a social setting. Do you reckon the point of maybe embarrassment or
Yeah,
shame?
definitely. Yeah, shame, embarrassment, and people don't want to feel like they've reverted back to an infantile stage. Whereas an adult, you've got to ask another adult for support. It's quite hard work sometimes to be in social settings and then feel that someone's picking on you on a regular basis, maybe when you're meeting up with friends. And then address it with one of your adult friends like you're a young child. You know, you can feel like a child if you're a grown man or woman having to talk about some other adult treating you badly.
Okay. As a therapist, do you think therapy will help this situation of bullying? Does it help?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, like I said before, some people haven't got a voice. Sometimes they feel they've got no one to talk to. I mean, especially if there's an extreme of it, you're going to have to get help straight away before something really serious happens. So yeah, it'll definitely help. I think for younger children, mentors are really, really helpful in schools as a first port of call before even getting to any sort of therapeutic intervention.
I want to know, do you think, in this current climate, do you think that schools are very proactive in dealing with bullying?
Yeah, I mean, they are, and I always say that it's based on that school. And I take my hat off to schools with over 1,000 children. You can't monitor everyone closely. It's hard work.
Oh, there we go. Let's bring in my guy here. That's it. How you doing?
Hi.
Match?
What's your question, my friend?
Punishment match?
What's your question?
No question, only punishment match.
We're running a discussion based on bullying.
Yeah, I don't you're speaking.
No, mate, we're all right then. That's all right.
Follow back?
No. Anyway, let's move on. When it comes to
you are very, 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 very handsome boy.
mate, we got no time for that. We're dealing about bullying, geezer.
You are very beautiful boy. Sharing guys किधर गए हो सारे guys?
All right.
Punishment match.
Let's end that. Let's go back. Man just killed my team. Look at that. Man's just messed up my something.
It's alright, the first one, isn't it?
Yeah, but you know what? Yeah, that was good. Hold on. Oh yeah, sorry about that. We're not notifying viewers that you're live. Yeah, sorry about that, guys. Sorry, we got the last 10 minutes. What was I saying to you now? We was talking about
Schools dealing with...
Right, schools being proactive. Dealing with bullying. And is that something that's prevalent? Like, obviously I work in a school and they've got a lot of... They do a lot of great stuff when it comes to safeguarding. They are on top of bullying, but I find that a lot of times in certain other schools, well, people that I know that work in schools, it kind of gets missed.
Yeah, I think it, like I said before, with over 1,000 kids in mainstream school,
Yeah.
it's hard to monitor everything.
Yeah.
There's pockets of the school where bullying's going on, and if that child isn't talking up, or it's quite subtle over time, that will get missed. So sometimes, especially nowadays, because they've got a culture, you know, that non-snitch culture's been reinforced over the years. So if you're a person that's been bullied and you snitch, you might be subject to even more bullying. So it can be problematic. So in large environments, educational institutions is harder. But I still think they put in the work. But it's just harder to identify every case of bullying in the school. In pupil referral units and alternative provision, because they're a lot smaller, it can be picked up straight away. When I used to work in the PRU, I think, I won't make comparisons to other PRUs, but we were one of the best at dealing with bullying issues straight away from the morning. That's dealt with. If they're ongoing, like we'll deal with the same children day in, day out. If you know, if there's a problem, bring in their parents, whatever has to be done. Bring in the police, the safety. It's like it'd be tears. So next minute we're bringing in the safety schools officer, having a talk with the safety schools officer behind the scenes and saying, look, you need to talk to this. Can you please talk to this child in a particular manner, because they won't stop their behaviour towards this child. And you know, going through those steps, a lot of the time it gets extinguished, and then you can do some mediation between the two children, and then it become resolved. It doesn't always work like that, but in smaller institutions, it's easier to do.
Right. There's that saying that hurt people hurt people. Do you think that's the case a lot of the time when we're dealing with bullies? Mainly, I would say in schools or PRUs or, you know, places where children congregate.
Yeah, I think anywhere where there's a significant level of anger inside a child, however that's been developed, whether it's through witnessing this domestic violence, whether your parents have been putting their hands on you, whatever the case, I think a lot of it is driven by anger. You know, so however that's developed, a lot of the time bullies want to project that out onto someone else to make themselves feel better, you know, especially when it comes to a situation where they're not thinking. But I'm giving you what I got. You know what I mean? There are different trains of thought in regards to why you're bullying someone.
Ayo, what's outside is within. The mind regulates the hand that masters the pen. The pen is mightier than the sword, but the tongue is mightier still. The stargate to the mind's revealed. The vortex.